have control over these anomalous aircrafts through consciousness. Investigate into all these multiphysics problems.
Hey, welcome back to Not Just UFO. I'm Hemant.
I'm Arvind.
Well, let's get on to today's episode. So, Arvind, what are we going to talk about today?
Kona Blue.
Kona Blue? Is it like a color on a car, or what is it?
It's a project. It's a project on, again, UFO.
Oh, sure.
So it was a proposed special access project, something which was meant to be really done by Department of Homeland Security and some specialized contractors, but something which wasn't actually approved. And recently it got declassified, and we got this information as part of the new Arrow report.
So why is it declassified now?
Because since it didn't really happen, so people, I don't know, for some reason they declassified. My theory is Arrow wanted to use this information as a way to justify, oh yeah, see, these kind of things are not really happening. It's just on papers, and people are just getting confused by such project proposal, and they are just coming and blowing the whistle.
Wait, now I'm confused. So, a project was created.
Yeah.
And there are documents for this project.
Yeah.
And recently, they said this is not a real project anymore.
So it was, the project proposal was created.
Okay.
So in a sense, the project really didn't happen. Just the proposal was there. It wasn't really approved. So yeah, and you always have a lot of projects which gets proposed, right? Not everything will be actually taken into account. And again, it could be of a lot of constraints, right? Sometimes it's a budget, or sometimes it's people say, oh, maybe there is no enough interest, or maybe there are other programs which might conflict with this, and they don't want that to happen.
Okay, now let's get to the curious part. What was in the draft?
So some of the aim of this project was to really identify different aspects of this anomalous phenomena which is going on, which we now call as UAPs. So they wanted to investigate the psychological or physiological effects also with it. And they also wanted to investigate the consciousness aspect of it, how someone can have control over these anomalous aircrafts or aerial vehicles through consciousness, and also wanted to see how they can do investigate into all these multiphysics problem, where why such kind of maneuvers these vehicles take. And they also wanted to check into what kind of effect it has on people. And yeah, it's a pretty broad in that way, but also it's more of threat identification, because when you see a lot of these kind of so-called drones now, which are being seen in a lot of these army air bases. One of the recent one is the Langley Air Force Base, I believe, where a lot of drone incursions were seen. And there is this one of the thing, right? It's a security threat, homeland security threat. So they wanted to investigate and see how they can counter by investigating what exactly it is.
Okay. So you mentioned they wanted to test the effect of consciousness on the UAPs, and you said it's something that along the lines of, can we control something just by thinking, move left, move right, and the UAP or the aircraft would just respond to us by moving left or right?
So that is one of the part of the theory where they say you can control objects or materials through space-time, across space-time, to say.
Okay.
And all these technologies where there are people who have capability to control such materials across space-time just with consciousness. So this is an extension of, maybe say, let's call remote viewing. Remote viewing is a way where people can non-locally, which is nothing but, say you are in this location across space-time. Maybe say you are able to see what is happening in Russia or Ukraine, maybe 10 years later or maybe 10 years before. So the space time is not a constraint. And even though you are just like physically here, you can go across time and space. So they wanted to investigate how they can use such kind of technology on these anomalous aerial vehicle.
Okay, so I know you opened up a new topic, remote viewing. Maybe sometime we'll talk about that in detail. But what you mentioned sounds like the character Professor X in X-Men, when he puts on his helmet, his consciousness goes wherever he wants it to go. Is it something like that?
Yeah, that's a more simplified way to see it. Something in that way you can think of.
So now they have declassified the project. Is that the word, declassified, and they made it public?
It's available publicly. Anyone can go and read it. It's actually there in the Arrow website. You can just download the whole document and you can see what was proposed and why it was rejected and what Arrow interprets out of it and how much was the budget. Every information is there.
Interesting. Now, my next question, the follow-up question. So this project got rejected because whoever needs to approve this did not believe in UAPs or UFOs or aliens or along those lines, or it was some other reason that this project got rejected. Meaning, it would mean that they didn't reject the idea of UAP itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the main part, right? Where one of the core thing or a takeaway from this report, I would say, is the part where they say the justification for this project. What is the justification for this project? Is they claim US is already in possession of anomalous aerial vehicle. And we need to invest time in investigating what we could do and how we can make use of it.
Okay.
So one of the core justification is really okay. They do have is what they started the statement, and then you started the proposal. What you're going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So they are not rejecting the idea or the fact that they do possess some alien crafts.
Yeah, that wasn't rejected. It was just rejected on the ground of things. Say, oh, this is like again, it's a bit murky. They didn't exactly clarify what it was.
Right.
But again, that's up for a bit of interpretation. But the most interesting thing is what they were proposing, right? So you are not going to just like randomly have all these military proposal coming in to the Congress or any of the special access program. You're not going to just like make up what you think like, oh yeah, why can't we do this, right? You need to have some ground, kind of some ground understanding.
Right.
Yeah, some ground rule. Like one of the thing is what they said is this justification. There were other aspects also, right? Like where the other interesting thing is effect of biological thing. Anytime people have had interaction with UAP or they have seen, so some people have had radiation effect, and some people even have this like say so-called Havana syndrome.
What is Havana syndrome?
Havana syndrome is something where anytime people experience such kind of phenomena, say they undergo vertigo or dizziness and some form of kind of effect, physiological effect. So that's the thing, right? Sometimes when people think all these UFO, it's just like it's in people's head. They're just like maybe they're crazy. Mm-hmm. It's not. Where like there is an actual physiological effect which happens, and sometimes it's visible. Sometimes radiation effects like where like, people do get skin scarred and such things are visible. So they, as part of this program, this project, like they wanted to investigate these aspects as well. There's something called hitchhiker effect.
Okay.
So hitchhiker effect is where
let me guess. You ask for a ride when you see a UFO. You take me away from this earth.
Actually, something similar to that. Hitchhiker effect is where, say, you encounter a UFO experience. Okay. You come back home. Your wife starts saying things. Oh. Even though your experience happened elsewhere,
Right.
Maybe say you went to Ukraine, since like that's what is recently happening. I'm just giving that as an example, and you
Okay.
come back to US
Mm-hmm.
and you start seeing things, not just you, your family,
Hmm.
maybe your friends. So
Okay.
that's a part.
Is it
So
because I explained them what I saw and
it doesn't need to be that.
doesn't need to be that way?
Doesn't need to be that way.
Just me going to some place and coming back home would it could
Yeah.
influence
Yeah.
my people in home and have the effects of where I went to.
One weird thing starts to happen. So this is like again unexplained, and other part is people don't really want to talk about this because it's very easy where people would seen as like, okay, you're
Right.
dumb, or like maybe you're just like seeing things.
There are
So
social constraints that we
yeah,
need to adhere to.
yeah, the stigma is so bad, right? Like even see what we are talking about, things about like consciousness, we're able to telekinesis or these kind of effects, right? Like we have seen only in movies, and when someone is going to come and say, oh no, this is like actually possible by some kind of method,
Hmm.
then yeah, and that is like CIA is not going to just like invest so much of money and time
Right.
when something is not really working.
Going back to the Kona Blue project, do you happen to check what was the budget that was previously allocated or proposed?
Yeah, so that's a part. Like, I wouldn't call like they should have rejected just because of the budget, because the budget is was I think like 10 million or $12 million, which is like
Okay.
nothing when you compare to
Right.
the kind of budget all these military programs get.
Right.
So
Maybe the budget is just on the paper. Who knows what the actual
but
budget?
yeah, it didn't really happen. So actually, there is this aerospace company called Bigelow Aerospace.
Mm-hmm.
So initially, they were the one who owned a Skinwalker ranch.
Okay.
They have invested a lot of money before, and one of the part is actually this project was supposed to be a continuation of the project called ATIP. So it was this ATIP is called like Advanced Threat Identification Program. So this Kona Blue was supposed to be a continuation. I don't know, for some reason maybe they already got the information, or maybe they didn't like some of the aspects which they found. That's could be one of the other reason maybe why they didn't want to continue this program, and maybe that's
Okay.
another reason why it got rejected. Because we have to think, right? Finally, all this is decided by people who are in certain power, and people have ego. We don't know what might have happened between
Yeah.
people. So yeah, I'm just again, these are all speculation. It's
Yeah.
not like really they won't talk about this in the report, but I'm just speculating.
Right. Right. Any snippets from that article itself? Anything that you remember that?
Yeah, for me, the most like personally, if I have to say what is really stood out for me was there was this sentence which talks about countermeasures to remote viewing. So it's not like where you're using your consciousness to gather information outside of your locality or outside of what you can see or perceive. They are able to stop someone else from doing that.
Right.
So that's something they wanted to investigate more. So you're not going to just say investigate when you don't know, okay, this is possible or not. All right. So
It's crazy. What the last two statements that you said is the craziest. Right?
Yeah.
Because remote viewing is itself a crazy concept. Like
Yeah.
just by you sit here, just by thinking, you go to some place and you look at that place and do stuff. Now the countermeasure is someone else is gonna sit somewhere else and they're gonna think, and in their thought, they're gonna fight with your thought and stop you from thinking.
I don't know how that countermeasure all
I
these
know,
things
I
works.
don't
So
even
I'm
know
just
how it
yeah.
works.
I don't know if it's through thought or maybe through certain materials, maybe some kind of material structure or things. I don't know. Maybe it's both. We can only speculate. So that's a part where like again they wanted to not just do a simple data analysis. They also wanted to have like multiphysics kind of a data analysis, and maybe they wanted to do multiphysics simulations too.
What is multiphysics?
So when you do simulations, right? Like say, first people to understand what is simulation, you kind of try to design or create any product. You want to test them out virtually, without actually building them.
Right.
For example, you're building an aircraft. You don't kind of just go and build, right? You want to kind of create those models in a computer,
Right.
and then you kind of test them out if if it's like airworthy to fly or not. So a multiphysics simulation is something where you take not just one type of physics into account. You take multiple different aspects of physics. So say one of the aspects is like maybe electromagnetic radiation effect, and the physical what do you call the mechanical properties which you want to actually test out, the physical strength. And then also you may try to think of say other different aspects, like even within the scale of things, right? Maybe you see in the dynamic differences, like where like, so basically the point is multiphysics is where like you don't just like look at single aspect of things, you see the whole picture. You want to see the whole picture. Maybe say there are like some other fluid dynamics which are also involved. You want to see the whole thing together, not just like one particular aspects of the physics.
Gotcha. Covering all bases.
Yeah. So because these phenomena, right, where it's like simple things you can explain. So they wanted to break it down into trying to put down like, okay, into our known physics and see, okay, what could be a causal reason these things could be. Can we really explain this, or what kind of aspects we can explain from that, and from that, okay, what we could use to extrapolate or how we can control them. So that's a part. Yeah.
Good luck with the multi-physics thing.
Yeah. So, but the main, or I would say the key takeaway is, I would say this report, even though it was a proposed special access program, this is something which confirms the US actually possesses a anomalous aerial vehicle, which is of non-human origin. So even though, okay, you can reject the project, this really confirms. And yeah, this is one other addition to where is the evidence, right? There is the evidence.
Physical evidence. Just that we don't see it,
Yeah.
but the circumstantial evidence is that US did agree that they do possess alien spacecraft or some technology. Hey, let's talk for a minute about Arrow, right? We'll add a link to that article in the video somewhere. But yeah, tell me about Arrow. What is their actual role in all of this?
So Arrow was an organization which is like named as All Anomaly Resolution Office. They were formed to really explain all this UAP, UFO phenomena for the public. Kind of a disclosure, but I don't think they are doing that job. My understanding is they're doing the opposite. They just want to kind of say, okay, there is nothing here to see. Just go and do your job. Not the disclosure. So yeah, I would like to joke like that. Like Arrow is even though it's one of the arrows which never gives out straight answers. So this arrow never goes straight.
I don't know why I laughed. That was a bad joke, but yeah, that makes sense. Okay, but hey, one fun question: why the name Kona Blue?
I don't know. I think it's something related with some Hawaii name or something. I don't know. It's like I believe it's related to some Hawaii Kona. Yeah, it's some. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think
I have a speculative answer. Maybe they do have a possession of an alien who's a Kona Blue colored alien.
That's.
Are you gonna reject it?
I'm not rejecting, but that sounds. Yeah. I can see your imagination there.
Yes. But yeah, interesting. Really interesting. So, what do you think is going to happen in the next steps? Like, this project is now public, and someone is going to question the US government, saying, "Hey, so you do agree that you have possession of an alien spacecraft? What do you think the US government or the Arrow agency is going to respond to such questions?"
So first, tell me who's gonna ask that question.
Well, someone from Reddit.
That's all, or in YouTube comments.
Yeah.
So that's
So
all.
that is the problem then.
Yeah, no one is gonna kind of keep them. Even if you're gonna ask them, okay, no, it's a rejected project, they'll say, oh yeah, that's why we rejected. It's convenient, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. All right, hey, that was quite interesting to learn about Kona Blue project and Arrow.
See you all in the next episode.
Thank you.